Have you seen any movies? It started out as a thriller, and it turns into science fiction. Finally, a big reversal. Today we're going to talk about a movie called War. The ghost story is set in World War II. 5 American soldiers appeared before our eyes. They were ordered to go to an old French castle occupied by the Nazis. Take care of the guards on this side. Of course, toward the old castle, they had been taken down by their companions. At night, the man woke up from his sleep. I saw what looked like a man smoking in the distance. He closed his eyes in fear and opened them again and disappeared. Except for the hero, there's a golden-haired brother who brings in and says, finally, Brother Picklefoot, who liked to pick his feet, took them all the way to their destination. On the way, they found cars in the area, and then set the trap. At last they were all killed. And met the refugees on the way. These are ordinary people who have been tortured. Huzishuo took out the gold teeth dug out from the enemy to give the other side to see the women around the poor children and Index a little sad. But they still have work to do. Then, they walked through the ruins, came to this need to guard the old castle. And the strange thing is, one of the first guards was sleeping outside. What's going on here? Is there no sleeping place in this big old castle? The most exaggerated thing is that there are 2 soldiers inside. When they see them, they're ready to switch. Get out of here, but there are others. Where did it all go? It was a little strange to watch the soldiers squeak. But let them go anyway. Then, 5 people were inside the castle looking around, who ran to the basement. Found a big gun locked. And of course the biggest one is the Ning family photo. But soon the ghost happened. Like things falling down at every turn, the male master also found a blackened place on this side of the study. Golden-haired brother wanted to light a cigarette but couldn't. I also heard strange noises coming from a locked room. When he left, private houses open at night for 5 people, sitting there after the accident. But I hear voices upstairs. They hurried up the stairs with their guns. Turns out it was just the wind blowing through the curtains. But what happened to the figure before? And those who turn from the earth? It's all very unsettling. But after all, 5 young men sleep. They can also build up courage. But they heard the thud again. It sounds like Morse code. And then they translate it. It was written in the book, so that I have no legs. What does that mean? And the little hole that fell through the chimney frightened them at night. Each was given a different room to rest in. Pick my foot hook in the girlish room. No removal of the basement. I also found a notebook. I saw something not so good in it. Then something more sinister happened. The wolves in the family photo have lost their beards. And I see a figure in the yard. But they came out and there was nothing. So the next day someone said what happened to Little Pool. Everyone seemed a little scared. The spilt index just tells you. There's a message over the radio. Some trucks appeared not far behind. It's not theirs anymore. That should be the song. So they had to prepare for 5 rounds against dozens of people. It's not a joke. Then they are in the warehouse, all sorts of toss about. But when I lift up a carpet, they found an altar. Suddenly reminds me of the first look at the steel alchemist of the introduction of Strong Master. It's a lot like dark magic. It's supposed to be a Nazi vehicle. After all, their brains like it. They didn't take it seriously at first. But in moving things around, Brother Bespectacled's hand was pinched. He screamed in pain. I only said I wanted to laugh at him. I didn't expect to see a figure floating in the air in the mirror. And even more dramatically, the monster didn't end there. They heard Google on the radio. I wanted to write it down. In the end, Brother Bespectacled's hands were out of control. I started scribbling, a few words appeared above. If you leave, you'll die. To tell the truth, it's a thriller to see that it's still okay. They had no idea what was going on. Is the old castle haunted? The people from that quarter came in the night, huh? The men are ready. I was going to empty the city. The Nazis found nobody and they're ready to leave. But suddenly there were all kinds of noises from upstairs. So a deadly battle is inevitable. And to protect his fellows, the blonde good man pounced on her. This recruit, you don't have to think about dying to live half your life. His hands and feet were blown off, while others, though wounded. But I can still fight. Of course you say how good the fight looks. In fact, it's pretty average, but when you add force, it looks better. A couple of American GIs were fighting against Dingle, only to see the enemy drowned in the bathtub. Burned to death, hanged in his study. Anyway, all kinds of weird ways to die, but none of them did it. The good news is that the enemy has been killed. The bad news is that Goldilocks was badly hurt. And the castle seems to be haunted. What should they do now? You can dispose of the body. And then it all came together. Yanqing said. He learned from the notebook in the basement. Although the original owner of this chateau was of French royal blood. But the hidden swim is too cold, so wait to prevent it from falling into Nazi hands. They were all subjected to inhuman abuse. The master was burned and the cow hung. 2 factors, of course. The lady did not escape. They're all dead anyway. I don't know where the bodies are now. Over time, everyone was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Uncle Beard, when I killed a Nazi child. I can't get it out of my head now. It's making me nervous. And our hero is ready to appease the dead child. Did not expect to be dragged into the water faintly. He saw the Nazis abusing him. And saw a few strangers. By the time he woke up, he was already in bed. The second day, Brother Jinbao woke up, keep shouting that it's not true. It's not true. Could he not accept the loss of his limbs? The scariest part was Mimi's tall blonde hair. Thus by the collar of the man. And then before I die, he said, make sure you remember. What's behind this? But what happened at the castle has now eclipsed what remains of their three-light decline. Ready to leave, ready to leave. I guess I can't go. But as I walked along, they were confronted again with the same picture of the first fugitives. It's all so weird. They don't believe in evil, so a car to take that scrap medical car do not know how many times. I want to go back. But back to the original place. I was picked up during the night. What the hell is this? During the day they also meet some of the Nazi soldiers who were the original killers. There is no escape in sight, they went back to the castle again, then they prepared to face the ghosts. Or I can't get out. Something has to be done. Soon, and they heard a strange word, Witlerek. They didn't know what the word meant. They also covered the floor with flour. In the night the spirit came. Call men to be seized. And caught the little house. When the businessman came in, he realized that the family's bodies had been dumped there. Don't think to bury these. Then they can have peace of mind. But a few men naive. Because at the time of the burial, who exponent met the ghost again in the old castle. They also found the last page of the notebook ritual on the body of their master. Try to choose this family. Not France. I'm Afghanistan now. The family had dozens of oil taro inside the wall. And spent a lot of money, it gave them a way to get to the United States. Well, before the hostess died, she performed the Whittlewick glasses high. Even speaking Arabic. What's wrong with that locked box? Well, since they're cigars, at first they were very happy. But they did not track down the bearded man who had encountered the ghost and seemed to be under control. Dug up the grave. Strange rituals took place. And this ritual can bring the ghost gate back to life. Although each of them is a ghost of one-on-one hit, but you can't beat them, he was almost killed. However, while they were losing ground, the ghosts suddenly began to flash. Then Goldilocks showed up again and said that these weren't the biggest turnaround in the store. As the picture flashed, the men showed up in bed. And he's got all sorts of weird tubes in him. Male hero memory finally slowly wake up. It turns out that when they went to Afghanistan on a mission, because the local doctors ignored the danger, to help the American men take their meat is to give each other a safe place. At the door, I just saw two kids playing. They were ready to go in and out. To my surprise, the terrorists chased several soldiers. If seen, the consequences would be unimaginable, so they hid in the walls of the house. That's when the terrorists came here. Without saying a few words, he began. The doctor was tied to a post, and the ox was hanged. The only one who wasn't late was a 30% silver ingot. They're ready to go outside, and there are more terrorists. They were no match for each other. And afraid to go out, so when the men go out, people here would have given up their beards to see the two children. Making one was also mutilated. That's why he always felt that he was hurting the child. He didn't really hurt it. It's just that he saw this horrible scene. And that's not the scariest part, and the wife came shining through. Ready to die with all of you. He thought it was the hero. They killed their husbands and their children. The explosion caused his companion not to break a leg, it's a broken hand, even missing a slap. And the moment the woman died, and cast a curse upon them, this is what they often hear Whittlewarwick say at night. This is the curse of the Muslims. But the strange thing is, why is there a push value in rehabilitation? And yet so real. It even interferes with them. The male lead conjecture may be a curse he brought in the whole family. If I don't go back and solve this problem, the companion will never come back. He asked the staff to help him come back to the night as the hero again. He saw a man smoking a cigar. This must be the Phantom in name. That's the end of the movie. The first half feels like a horror movie. And then all of a sudden it became science fiction. The British explained it clearly. The curse brought Wong Lin to the cure. They would choose treatment during World War II, because it can be disconnected from modernity, at least it doesn't remind them of bad memories. Also more conducive to the rehabilitation of the body. Which explains why men don't defecate or urinate for days on end. After all, there are still some people who feel that the whole is okay in the dreamland. It's a bit of a butterfly effect. After all, the same director. That's all for this video, see you next time.